Good evening. I hereby call to order the Board of Directors meetings of the New Jersey Transit Corporation, New Jersey Transit Rail Operations, Inc., New Jersey Transit Bus Operations, Inc., New Jersey Transit Mercer, Inc., and New Jersey Transit Morris, Inc. At this time, I would ask Megan, our Board Secretary, to read the public safety announcement.
Good evening. Please mute your phones and turn your attention to the public safety announcement. Okay, we're going to move on. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. No, not today.
United States of America,
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will now take roll call. Board Member Adams?
Here.
Board Member Brown? Oh, she will be here momentarily. Board Member Doshi?
Here.
Board Member Gordon?
here,
Board Member Thomas?
Here.
Board Member Caniff?
Here.
Board Member Giblin?
Here.
Vice Chair Fulton?
here,
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Here.
For the record, Vice Chair Fulton and Board Member Gordon are participating remotely today. Board Member Morocco and Board Member Nara are absent, and Board Member Brown will be joining us shortly. This is a meeting of the New Jersey Transit Corporations and its affiliates and subsidiaries. Adequate notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and NJ Transit's enabling legislation. Notice was filed on July 14, 2022 with the Secretary of State and sent to newspapers of general distribution, posted in the main entrance of NJ Transit's headquarters, published on the corporation's website, and sent to each individual agency and organization that requested such notice.
Thank you, Megan. Since we didn't have a safety message, it's very simple. If there is an emergency, we simply ask that you follow all instructions of the New Jersey Transit Police and safely exit the building or any other instruction they may provide. At this time, we need to hold a brief executive session to discuss a matter that will be voted on today, and that is why we are starting the meeting a half an hour early. May I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract negotiations, the status of pending and anticipated litigation, and matters falling within the attorney-client privilege, including but not limited to the NJ Transit resolution authorizing entering into a funding agreement for the purchase of real property interests for the Hudson Tunnel project between New Jersey Transit and the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, and authorizing the purchase of various property interests for the Hudson Tunnel River project. May I have a motion to enter into executive session? May I have a second?
Second, Giblin.
second, Gordon,
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
yes,
Board Member Caniff?
yes,
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We'll return as soon as possible.
Okay. Board Member Adams?
Here.
Board Member Brown?
Here.
Board Member Doshi?
Here.
Board Member Gordon?
Here.
Board Member Thomas?
Here.
Board Member Kaniff? Board Member Giblin? Vice Chair Fulton?
Here.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
This time I ask for a motion and a second. Minutes of the June 8th, 2022 board meetings.
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take a roll call vote.
One moment, I just want, there we go. Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Abstain.
Board Member Gordon?
Abstain.
Board Member Kaniff? Yes. Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti? Motion carried.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone, and board members, and to the members of the public joining us online. I'll begin again this month with Ridership, which is holding relatively steady on all modes, but we are seeing some encouraging trends emerging. Weekday rail ridership is approximately 55% of pre-COVID levels, and average rail ridership on weekend is approximately 80 to 90% of pre-COVID levels, with some trains at 100%. System-wide bus ridership remains at approximately 70% of pre-COVID levels, although I'm pleased to note that we are seeing a substantial uptick in recreational and discretionary travel into New York City as tourism begins to rebound. For example, during the week of July 4th, interstate bus ridership, which has been hovering around 65% mark, jumped to 81% of pre-COVID levels. I believe this is a very positive trend for New Jersey Transit as well as the regional economy. And to wrap up the ridership report, light rail ridership once again is standing steady at approximately 75% of pre-COVID levels. I'll now move on to some updates on initiatives to help advance accessibility to transit, in line with one of the 5 overarching goals of our 10-year strategic plan, NJT 2030, to power a stronger and fairer economy for all communities in the region. NJ Transit held its first ever accessibility forum on June 14th. The forum was designed to educate the public on the many services and features that make our system as accessible and inclusive as possible, and to provide an opportunity for public feedback and have questions answered. More than 250 people attended, both online and in person, and I'm pleased to report we received a lot of positive feedback. Thanks to our Chief Civil Rights and Diversity Officer, Leota Sander, and his team for all the work they did to organize this forum, as well as all the representatives from across the organization who presented at the event. Customers who were not able to attend can view the presentation online at njtransit.com/accessibility. Continuing with opportunities to improve accessibility, last month NJ Transit won another important FTA grant provided through the FTA's Areas of Persistent Poverty program. NJ Transit will now leverage this $520,000 grant as a first step in implementing a series of accessibility, service, and customer experience improvements on our Newark light rail system. The study will investigate options for improving Newark light rail station designs to make the last of our 4 remaining Newark light rail stations that are not currently fully accessible ADA compliant, as well as improving the overall customer experience. And thanks to our extensive and successful grant applications effort, New Jersey Transit also received last month an additional FTA grant, this one for $514,000, provided through the FTA's Route Planning Restoration Program to study the current bus network in Hudson County and its surrounding areas. Like New Bus Newark and New Bus Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, New Bus Hudson will include a detailed performance analysis of the existing system, along with a robust outreach effort and identification of new activity centers and emerging travel destinations with implementable service recommendations. Continuing with service updates, beginning in June, NJ Transit efficiently and successfully moved customers to and from 6 major concerts at MetLife Stadium, a pair of Coldplay concerts, the Hot 97 Summer Jam, and concerts featuring Paul McCartney, Grupo Firme, and the artist The Weeknd. This month, MetLife Stadium's summer concert series continue, and we're prepared with a service plan to get customers conveniently to and from the stadium for a pair of Elton John concerts, July 23rd and 24th, and a Los Bocas concert on July 30th. I'll wrap up our service updates with a few quick notes on bus operations. First, I want to supplement an update shared by Mike Kilcoyne, our SVP of Surface Transportation and General Manager, at last month's Board Operations and Customer Service Committee meeting. As Mike had reported, NJ Transit bus operation was initially scheduled to assume bus service on our number 119 and number 10 bus routes from Coach USA on June 25th. However, in an effort to improve service for customers as quickly as possible, we stepped in early on June 16th to assume 12 full weekday assignments on those routes using NJ Transit bus operators and equipment. This had an immediate and positive impact on the customer experience with a significant improvement in on-time performance and reduced wait times. Effective June 25th, NJ Transit bus operations assumed all services for the number 119 and number 10 bus routes. Today, many 119 trips are operated with new articulated buses, which has increased capacity, especially during the evening rush hour from the Port Authority bus terminal, to provide customers with more seats per hour and improve consistency. Also on the 25th, at the Port Authority bus terminal, New Jersey Transit implemented a series of bus gate reassignments for routes at 17 bus gates to improve accessibility and service for bus customers. Finally, as more people venture out as the pandemic recedes, NJ Transit has expanded service between Port Authority bus terminal and American Dream by adding 2 new inbound and 2 outbound weekday bus trips. On weekends and holidays, NJ Transit currently runs hourly bus service on the 355 line from the Port Authority to American Dream. 3 local bus routes also serve American Dream, the 85, the 703, and the 772. We have a busy agenda this evening, so I'll just highlight a few of the key items up for board approval. Later this evening, the board will consider approval of our fiscal year 2023 operating budget, which will allow NJ Transit to maintain and even enhance current service levels without increasing fares for a 5th consecutive year under the Murphy administration. Bill Vaquera, our SVP and CFO and Treasurer, will be presenting the FY23 operating budget later on in the meeting for approval. We will also introduce a significant update to our FY21 through FY25 5-year capital plan. Overall, this capital plan update promises to build on significant and transformational work underway at NJ Transit by continuing to improve reliability, on-time performance, customer comfort, and overall customer experience. Rich Schaefer, our acting SVP of Capital Programs, will be providing more details on this important plan later this evening as well. We will also seek board approval to once again advance the design of our Hudson-Bergen Light Rail Northern Branch project, which will actually put the Bergen in the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail. In alignment with our new sustainability plan, now in active development, the board will consider authorizing the installation of 62 electric vehicle charging stations at 9 NJ Transit facilities to support the transition of our fleet of non-revenue vehicles to electric mode. This purchase will support the electric hybrid vehicles purchased previously approved by the board meeting this year in May, and allow NJ Transit to install a total of 126 EV charging stations and related infrastructure throughout our facilities. It's also aligned with the Governor's Energy Master Plan and demonstrates, again, NJ Transit's unwavering commitment to sustainability. The board will be considering a midlife rehab campaign for our 200 NJ Transit North American Bus Industries, or commonly known as NABI buses. This campaign will extend the life of the fleet and enhance appearance, reliability, and passenger comfort. Finally, I'm pleased to report the board will be voting tonight to approve a new agreement with the Police Benevolent Association, Local 304, which covers NJTPD officers and detectives. I'm especially proud of the close working relationship we've established under Chief Trusillo with PBA 304 President Dan Watanabe and First Flight President John Feehan. Shifting gears to the infrastructure updates, I'm pleased to note that the overall Gateway program has taken several important steps forward over the last month. On June 9th, I was proud to speak at a press conference with Governors Murphy and Hochul, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, MTA Chair and CEO Jan O'Lieber, and Amtrak Board Chair Tony Kosha for the announcement of a new request for proposal for the design of a multi-billion-dollar reimagining of Penn Station, New York. The RFP represents an important first step in delivering the world-class experience our Penn Station, New York customers deserve. As we all know, however, the vision of the Gateway program extends well beyond just the renovation of Penn Station, New York, but also to the expansion of that facility. Toward that end, last month, Amtrak, in partnership with NJ Transit and in coordination with the MTA, entered into a contract with a team led by the Eric Group to begin design options to build additional platforms, concourses, and tracks at Penn Station, New York. In conjunction with the Portal North Bridge and the Hudson Tunnel project, this project will one day enable NJ Transit to roughly double the capacity into Penn Station, New York, and significantly improve reliability for customers. Speaking of the Hudson Tunnel project, as many of you are aware, on July 5th, Governor Murphy and Governor Hochul signed the Phase 1 Memorandum of Understanding for both the Portal North Bridge and the Hudson Tunnel projects. Although we are not the lead agency on the Hudson Tunnel project, we look forward to working with Amtrak, the Port Authority, and the Gateway Development Commission, and our partners in New York to get shovels in the ground as soon as possible on this project that is so critical to NJ Transit's future. While Penn Station, New York is certainly important, NJ Transit's own historic Hoboken terminal is set to undergo a transformation as well, restoring it to be one of the crown jewels of our system. Governor Murphy, as part of his fiscal year 23 state budget, allocated $176 million to the upgrades and development of Hoboken Terminal and the areas surrounding the terminal. In concert with the governor's commitment on July 6, Hoboken City Council approved a redevelopment agreement with real estate and development company Elcor that will kickstart a series of public improvements both inside and outside the terminal. Named Hoboken Connect, these improvements include significant renovations to the historic station building, the bus and ferry terminals, path infrastructure, Warrington Plaza, and the surrounding streetscape, as well as private investment in new state-of-the-art office buildings, retail, and affordable housing. The project, which has been stalled for more than a decade, was jump-started through the cooperation between NJ Transit, Elcor, Hoboken, and the state. In addition to the Governor Murphy's $176 million commitment to our Hoboken terminal, the governor also allocated $250 million for the Walter Rand Transportation Center in Camden, $191 million for Newark Penn Station, $49 million to our New Brunswick station, $48 million to our Bloomfield station, $40 million for construction of a maintenance way facility in Clifton, $33 million to our Brick Church station, and $27 million to our Roselle Park station. All told, the governor will allocate $814 million to 7 NJ Transit stations, the importance of which cannot be overstated. The governor's significant funding commitment allows NJ Transit to accelerate these important projects in our 5-year capital plan that otherwise would have had to wait years until funding was available. The end result will be a significant improvement to the overall customer experience, delivered much more expeditiously at stations throughout our system. And to wrap up, at our January board meeting, I discussed NJ Transit's partnership with New Jersey Hall of Fame, through which we installed a beautiful new NJ Hall of Fame display in our Secaucus station. This month, I'm pleased to note that we have now installed an additional great-looking NJ Hall of Fame display throughout our concourse at 7th Avenue in New York, including our waiting room area at Penn Station. These installations are part of a statewide effort, including displays at Newark Liberty International Airport, Garden State Parkway service areas, and the NJM Motor Vehicle Commission locations. And as NJ Transit often serves as the gateway to New Jersey, especially for customers passing through Secaucus or Penn Station, New York, on their way to concerts or games at MetLife and other destinations throughout the state, we are proud to share the wide range of talent from our state that is a source of great pride and is so often overlooked. And with that, Chair, I conclude my remarks and turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. At this time, we would ask if there are any comments from the public.
There are 3 in-person speakers, 7 pre-registered telephone speakers, and 5 queued telephone speakers for a total of 15 speakers. Speakers, in order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Priority access will be given to in-person participants. We will then take comments from pre-registered telephone participants, followed by any additional telephone participants who are queued to speak. Those participating by telephone, if you have not already done so, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. The first speaker is Hardy Holmes, followed by Charles Mccann. Hardy here. If you could go to that podium, please. Over there. Thank you.
I'm here to speak for the customers or passengers in the Market Street waiting room, which lacks benches. And this has been going on for a very long time. As a matter of fact, I got benches in there in 2016. The benches were taken out during the COVID situation about 2 years ago and have not been, were not replaced. I did file a complaint with the customer service. The administrators responded saying that they acknowledged the fact that they had received the information, but offered no solutions and offered no explanation as to why we do not have benches in that Market Street waiting room. According to the demographics, that waiting room is served by Black and Brown because of those buses, the number 34, the number 31, the number 1, and the number 25. So the majority of those passengers are people of color. So this indeed indicates some form of discrimination. Since we have not received any response as any kind of solutions. The second complaint is the air condition in all of Penn Station. There is no air condition and has not been for the last 3 years since this new administration. At least during the Christie administration, at least he put large fans out in the lobby. We don't even have large fans. The temperature is something like 93 and 100. No air condition. So we would ask that you, as board members, would investigate these allegations. First, the allegation of the waiting room, the Market Street waiting room, where people have no place to sit. They're sitting on the rails outside of the station, the rails that hold up the bridge. People are sitting outside, and some people are even sitting on the floor. Who ever heard of sitting on the floor in a waiting room? This is outrageous. And we're asking you to indeed investigate these terrible conditions. I first observed this a few years ago. I'm a former school administrator. I have dual certification with the State Department of Education, first as a teacher of social studies, and second as a school principal. After retiring from the Newark Board of Education, I returned to my alum, which is Columbia University, City of New York, as an educational practicum supervisor in the Graduate School of Education. So when I saw these poor ladies come in and had no place to sit at 9 and 10 o'clock after having worked, trying to give to their grandchildren or great-grandchildren what they could not receive themselves. It just broke my heart to see this. And this has been going on for some time. This is not new. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next is Charles Mccann, followed by Sid Madison.
Good evening. My name is Charles Mccann, and I'm an engineering student at Purdue University. I'm here as an independent speaker, a New Jersey resident, and an NJ Transit commuter and daily user. I'd like to congratulate the state of New Jersey and New Jersey Transit for the advancements in the Gateway program and the Hudson Tunnel project. This is an exciting time, and I think it's a great opportunity for making service improvements to all rail servicing New York. I think it's time to leave the commuter transit model in the past. I've read that Port Authority Bus Terminal and New York Penn Station are at full capacity, and I think that through running trains through Penn Station will eliminate the congestion caused by terminating trains. Buses could then feed the high-capacity rail network and alleviate stress at Port Authority. I'm not the only person who thinks this, because this afternoon, actually, I stumbled upon an article about the TSTC, the Tri-State Transportation Campaign. This campaign actually aims to consolidate New Jersey Transit, Metro North, and LIRR into one organization. And although I think that's a bit extreme, I think they do have a point. I'd like to see NJ Transit, Metro North, and LIR all work together to provide cross-city service, giving access to important trip generators on the opposite side of New York, such as airports, sports and concert venues, or even beaches, let alone the densely populated communities surrounding New York. In conclusion, I'd like to ask you to consider the potential for New Jersey Transit to become a massive component in a world-class transit system comparable to the RER in Paris or TfL Rail in London. They just released Crossrail, which is sort of the model which I would like to see implemented in New York. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Sid Madison, followed by Sally Jane Gellert.
Good evening. Sid Madison, Piscataway. To get the board to recommend to Governor Murphy to immediately enact a moratorium on fossil fuel infrastructure projects in New Jersey is my goal tonight. There are two parts to this goal to explain. One, why the board should do it, and two, the moratorium rationale. First, why the need for the board to take this action. The system is failing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep increasing. Plans to achieve the 2030 greenhouse gas reduction goal are missing or inadequate. And individuals and climate organizations, one of which is me, have gotten blue in the face asking for action without success. It is time for the Transit Board and other like boards, organizations, and political entities to stand up and take action. Second, the rationale for the action is best explained by the analogy of Band-Aids and tourniquets, which I mentioned last month. The governor has applied some Band-Aids, stopped some projects. Tourniquets are used for patients bleeding out. They stop major bleeding. Band-Aids allow too much bleeding. With more fossil fuel infrastructure projects, greenhouse gas emissions go up. Bleeding increases. When the goal is to reduce emissions by 50%. Thus the need for a tourniquet. Like the situation with a patient and a tourniquet, there is still much work to be done, which will take days, weeks, or longer to reach the 2030 goal, just like a patient may not get back to normal. Likewise, reducing greenhouse gas emissions will take years and much work. Without the tourniquet, that work will be impossible. That work will be impossible. And the 2030 goal is taking the low-hanging fruit. That is the reason that there are 20 years between 2030 and 2050 to achieve the rest of the reductions. it gets harder and harder to achieve emissions reductions. Our future is in your hands. Stand up and take action. Ask Governor Murphy to immediately enact a moratorium, the tourniquet, on fossil fuel infrastructure in New Jersey. Objection. You don't have the authority, the power. The system isn't working. Change the system. Make this change and make the system work. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sally Jane Gellert, followed by the telephone participants.
Greetings. Sally Jane Gellert, Chairperson, Lackawanna Coalition. I apologize for being late. I actually had to drive tonight because I had a late meeting. So I saw on your agenda that the executive session was first, and I was going to complain about that, but it turns out that things are working for me. We do prefer that you have the executive sessions outside public time. Action item 220748, the fiscal year 2023 grant program. The Lackawanna Coalition supports these programs. Glad to see these essential grants. We share some members with the Senior Citizen and Disabled Resident Transportation Advisory Committee, and so we appreciate the value of these important programs for those with limited mobility, especially for those who find using scheduled transportation difficult or impossible. I attended your June 14th accessibility forum, which was anything but accessible. The mostly online event using micro teams webinar format rather than the meeting format was inaccessible to most of the speakers. They were called on to speak and were told that, the little message popped up that only presenters can open your mic. This was not just one or two novices with tech problems. This was a major problem. We know that New Jersey Transit can do meetings on Microsoft Teams because we do it at ScatterTech every month. So hopefully the fall accessibility program will resolve that problem. There was some good information presented, but tech kind of got in the way. The fiscal year 2023 budget, we continue to concern about the big drop in 2026 of approximately 860 million. We see an unchanging state subsidy of 100 million every year. The state steady clean energy funds 82.1 and transfer of capital 362 million each of these 5 years. Don't these even adjust for inflation? We worry about the potential need for a large fare increase if we suddenly need to find $800 million and more. We question what seems to be an optimistic prediction of 10% to 15% of passengers working remotely full or part-time in 2026. That number seems low. We've seen other lines than the peak commuting hours coming back faster. We reiterate our support for mask mandatory rail cars, self-enforced. We are aware of the recent lawsuit by 14 employees. We are not trying to put employees in danger, but like the quiet cars, if they're marked and labeled, most people will follow them, and that's good enough. We'd like to see that a pilot project, especially on trains that are currently running with closed cars or cars with low occupancy. One of our South Jersey members is asking for more frequent, inexpensive New York City to Atlantic travel lines. We'd like you to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Operator would now like to open the floor for public comments by telephone participants, beginning with those who pre-registered to speak.
Certainly. And as a reminder, if you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public comment. A warning will be provided with 1 minute remaining, and again with 15 seconds remaining. At this time, there are 10 speakers in queue to make a public comment, and the first public comment is coming from Andy Weiss. Andy, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Good evening, Board. Where is our NJ Transit customer advocate? It's now July. Where is our NJ Transit customer advocate? Where is our NJ Transit customer advocate? At the May 2nd Assembly Budget Committee meeting, 3 members asked Kevin Corbett and Diane Gutierrez Scacchetti about the NJ Transit customer advocate positions. 3 in a row. Assemblywoman Nancy Munoz, Assemblyman Gary Scher, I hope I pronounced him right, and Assemblyman John Mccann. They asked great questions, by the way, to Diane and Kevin. Great questions. Better than any questions that the board's ever mentioned, ever asked. But you hardly ever ask any good questions, by the way. You hardly ever ask any questions. But they asked 3 in a row, where is the NJ Transit customer advocate? And what's her name? Assemblyman Munoz, Nancy Munoz, she said at the meeting, quote, "You can certainly see from the questions here today that this is a really important issue. We need to get that position filled. When you are hearing it from 3 legislators in a row, you know it's an important issue. Where is it? Are you ignoring them too? Where is the NJ Transit customer advocate? This was law. Governor Murphy, I have his press release here, one of the press releases from April 25th, 2019. Governor Murphy applauded, that's his quote, applauded the NJ Transit customer advocate position and applauded Stuart Nader when it was created. He was completely supportive of the NJ Transit customer advocate position. Completely supportive. Now he's not supportive? Why? Because we're going to get a real one this time? This board is doing nothing. You're doing nothing. I mean, where is the NJ Transit customer advocate? It's law. We've been waiting long enough. Now you're not going to come back for another 60 days, right? You're going to take another 60 days off. You're not going to come back. You're probably going to come back in September and say, "Oh, we're still working on it." We need to Assemblyman Nancy Munoz, John McKeon, Gary Scher, everybody needs to contact them. This board is ignoring us. They're against us. They don't want to give us a customer advocate. We need a customer advocate now, ASAP. Stop the delaying, stop the games. We need a customer advocate. This board needs to do its job.
15 seconds.
It's law. This is the law. Adhere to the law. Do your job as a board and get us a customer advocate. That's your job. You must do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Ken Dolsky. Ken, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Thank you very much. Ken Dolsky, Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition. I wish to address my comments to Governor Murphy's representative, Board Member Giblin. Insider New Jersey ran a column on July 16th entitled Murphy's Paper-Thin Climate Change Agenda. The focus of the article was that while Governor Murphy talks tough on climate, there's very little evidence of progress on planning or actions. Some quotes from the column. Just like after Sandy, the traumatic events from Hurricane Ida elicited comments from the governor resolving to learn a lesson from damages to our world due to carbon emissions. Murphy reverted to his ever-handy sports analogy as if life was a football game. We've got to update our playbook for sure. We got to turn it up. Of course, there were no specifics. Yet several of New Jersey's leading environmental experts say the Murphy administration's response to climate change is more press releases than substance. They note the DEP budget has not kept pace with the increasing workload that Murphy's paper agenda has generated. Murphy wants to talk about climate change, but he doesn't really want to do anything. The administration has done a good job with public relations, highlighting the things that are going well, but we really haven't seen movement in the more substantive issues. The administration only talks about the easy programs. When it comes to the actual DEP personnel and budget, we're half of what we were 30 years ago, while the problems have gotten worse and the types of programs we need have to be bigger. Murphy committed to have his NJ PAC program provide regulations that dealt with things like regulating greenhouse gases 2 years from January of 2020. Well, guess not. Guess what? They're not done. The DEP is far, far behind in this commitment with no answers from the governor. In April of 2022, Empower New Jersey issued a report warning that New Jersey would miss its goals to combat climate change if the administration didn't stop new fossil fuel projects like transit grid. Empower also warned emissions could actually increase another 38% if 7 pending projects, including transit grid, are approved. The report showed the enormous difference between the governor's stated policies of reducing greenhouse gases and the reality, which is that we are rapidly heading in the exactly opposite direction. The response from the governor was silence. The reality is that the emperor has no clothes, and his complete silence on the transit power plant, as well as 6 other projects, while the evidence of climate change is all around us, is hypocritical, cowardly, and deceitful. More evidence of this hypocrisy and cowardice is seen in the fact that our Don't Gas the Meadowland Coalition sent the Governor's Utility Authority, which you head, Ms. Giblin, a 4-page letter on May 23rd. However, following the Murphy pattern of avoiding discussion of painful issues at all costs, we're still waiting for a reply. Citizens of New Jersey deserve better than a governor and his administration hiding from this issue affecting the lives of everyone in the state. And one more thing. Whenever the administration is asked about this issue, the standard response is offshore wind. Well, our total greenhouse gas emissions are 100 million metric tons, and offshore wind will at best offset about 5% of that by 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Paula Rogovin.
Hi,
Paula, your
I'm
line is live.
Paula Rogovin, Coalition to Ban Unsafe Oil Trains. Last month, we asked Transit Board's representative from Governor Murphy's office to relay a message to the governor about the transit grid project. It is outrageous that we still have heard nothing from the governor in response to our concerns. So now, Governor Murphy, I will talk directly to you. When the tape for this meeting is available, I will forward it to you. Governor Murphy, you know that the world is in crisis, a climate crisis. There's extreme heat, fires, and drought. People are dying. But environmental justice communities here in New Jersey are impacted not only by the climate crisis, but by the health impacts of pollution from power plants and incinerators. Health impacts include asthma, heart and lung disease, stillbirths, miscarriages, and so much more. Governor Murphy, back in April 2018, you issued an executive order 23, and you said, whereas, as governor, I'm strongly committed to leading an administration that ensures all New Jersey residents, regardless of race, ethnicity, color, national origin, or income, receive equal protection under the laws of this state, are able to live and work in a healthy and clean environment, and have equal access to clean energy resources and other public programs, such as energy efficiency programs. And you continued, all executive branches and agencies shall consider the issue of environmental justice and make evaluations and assessments in accordance with that guidance. End of quote. Governor Murphy, when you directed New Jersey Transit to pivot from a polluting toxic gas plant to a renewable energy solution, the people of New Jersey were delighted. The renewable energy solution would have been free of pollution and would have protected the health of people in nearby environmental justice communities and the health of all people. And it would have also addressed the climate crisis.
1 minute remaining.
We thought you cared. Governor Murphy, you know that NJ Transit's RFP violated your directive to pivot to a renewable energy solution. You know that their RFP violates Executive Order 23 and the spirit of the new environmental justice law and its proposed rules. We demand environmental justice and a greater effort by you to stop climate change. We need you to take a stand, Governor Murphy, and to direct New Jersey Transit to revise the RFP request for proposals so that it will be focused on a renewable energy microgrid. It will focus on life, not death.
15 seconds remaining. Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Talia Crawford. Talia, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Good evening. Talia Crawford, campaign organizer at Tri-State Transportation Campaign. We're a nonprofit policy and advocacy organization dedicated to fighting for improved mobility, accessibility, and sustainability in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Thanks for this opportunity to speak at this board meeting tonight. We're very excited to see New Jersey Transit is prioritizing the modernization of stations, bus garages, and advancing the electric bus agenda in its capital plan update. And it's great that New Jersey Transit has an extra $1.045 billion from various pods like IIJA, SFRF, and NJDD-NPF. For now, this saves us. But New Jersey Transit needs to look ahead at the years to come. And once these federal dollars that we received to make up for the loss are gone, we'll still be left with the same problem that has haunted New Jersey Transit for years. We need to identify a sustainable and reliable funding source for New Jersey Transit's operating needs. The practice of capital transfers to the operating budget to pursue preventative maintenance projects has resulted in a loss of the opportunity to invest in well over $10 billion, which has been an impediment to expanding service, redesign projects, and electrifying the bus fleet. And as large amounts are transferred every year, we lose ground on these important projects in both the short and long term. More importantly, these budget practices put riders at risk to fare hikes and service cuts. And we need to safeguard the livelihoods of riders because they cannot afford it. They rely on New Jersey Transit and deserve a system that works. And I would also like to second the need to appoint a customer advocate so riders have a point person to speak with about solutions. I hold a New Jersey Bus Riders Council every month, and my riders are very confused about who to contact when they want to put in a complaint. They just don't feel heard. So thank you for your time and looking forward to the continued work ahead.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Adam Reich. Adam, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Good evening, Board. There are a few things I'm asking for tonight. A better COVID-19 strategy, more transparency from staff, update on the customer advocate position, and a commitment on the customer advisory board. On COVID-19, rates are surging, yet the agency has not changed anything despite the surge in recent weeks. I again, as others have done, ask you to consider a masked car pilot program. You could meet the concerns of crew members by making it one without active enforcement. Have it be set up by signage and regular announcements. Let riders self-select. Let's try it. It's different from telling everybody mask or get off. It should be less contentious. Let's give it a shot. Short of implementing mask cars, there are other meaningful things you can do, right? You can certainly open all available train cars. That is not something that would be contentious among riders. I have yet to hear any explanation from staff as to why we can't at least do that amidst this surge. We could encourage riders to mask without requiring it. CDC recommends masking in crowded spaces, including transit hubs and public transportation. Further, in 17 out of 21 New Jersey counties, we're seeing high COVID community activity level rates. CDC recommends masking on public transportation in these counties. Surely the agency could put out messaging that encourages masking, even if it's not requiring it. I would note that Board Member Nara asked staff for a meeting or discussion at the June Operations and Customer Service Committee meeting. Board Member Gordon and Board Member Adams, who've also voiced support for this in the past. Has any such discussion taken place? If not, is there one on the horizon? What can be done on this front? Transparency. I've put in inquiries to staff following up on questions I posed at the accessibility forum that weren't answered. Staff has really callously dismissed it, avoiding directly answering my questions. Look at my public comment. You'll see a screenshot that shows them dodging basic questions like, why can't we hold a public forum for COVID-19 in the way that we're holding one on the New York Penn Station renovation project? Please push staff to be transparent, answer these questions, not to dodge. It is callous. It is insensitive. We have riders who tell you we can't ride because we're immunocompromised and you're not accommodating us. I haven't heard an answer on the equity issues, right? Why is it more equitable to provide no option versus one where you can reasonably accommodate it? On the customer advocate, where are we on the selection process? Where do we expect to be by late September? I would remind you also, right, there's the customer advisory board that could help connect riders and staff, set up to meet regularly, that could bridge this gap even in the absence of a customer advocate. Let's get a commitment here tonight to move forward with that. Let's say by October, if we don't have the customer advocate in place.
15 seconds.
I stress that you need people like me, people willing to ask questions, listen to riders, right? Part of why I keep advocating for this is not just for my own interest, it's because people tell me, I have family, I'm immunocompromised, I can't ride, I'm worried about my loved one bringing it home, right? Staff need to be able to answer basic questions, have a meaningful dialogue with riders. The Customer Advisory Board is a logical way to do this. Let's take COVID a little more seriously. Let's show a willingness to have a discussion. Even if it's not the outcome I'm asking for, having a discussion would go a long way, especially if Governor Murphy is committed to this, especially if President Corbett, as he said in the September 25th, 2019 press release, believed the Customer Advisory Board would provide invaluable insight and
Thank you. Time has expired.
the agency's efforts. Thank you.
And the next public comment is coming from Erica Gould. Erica, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hi, good evening. I'm commenting tonight in support of the proposed mask car on NJ Transit Rail, which would be one car per train in which everyone is asked to wear a face covering. Since the last meeting and at all points before then during the entire pandemic, CDC has continued to recommend universal masking on public transportation, and COVID cases are continuing to increase in New Jersey and the tri-state area as a whole currently. That trend has been going on for quite a while. As I've said in other public comments, having an individual wear their own mask in a train car full of unmasked people is not very protective against contracting coronavirus. Most face masks are designed to protect other people from the mask wearer, not the other way around. At the June Operations and Customer Service Committee meeting, Board Member Gordon asked again for the agency to consider this mask car proposal, and Board Member Nara specifically requested a meeting be held ASAP and not at the end of the summer or beyond. Board members, please respond. Has that meeting been held? And if not, why not? Does the board agree that having a mask car for those who need it is an accessibility issue? And has the board conveyed to agency leadership, including President Corbett, that it is possible to institute a mask car with just signs and not active enforcement by crew members? I do understand that that was a concern. Board Member Nara, in an earlier meeting, did seem to agree that that could be possible, having mask cars without active enforcement, in her response to my comment at that meeting addressing the issue. Thank you, board members who have supported this mask car proposal continually. I really do appreciate it, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. And as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to join the queue to make a public comment, you can press *1 on your keypad to enter the queue. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be *1 if you would like to join the queue to make a public comment at this time. There are 5 participants remaining in the public comment queue. And the next public comment is coming from Holly Cox. Holly, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hi, my name is Holly Cox, a 24-year New Jersey resident. I'm here to ask you and Governor Murphy and Governor Murphy's representative to amend the RFP for the microgrid project so it cannot include a dirty fossil fuel power plant and instead develop the project with clean, renewable energy. First, though, please note, I thought it was very disrespectful to all of us that you went into executive session before taking public comments. I request that you please do your business after the public comment session. I do feel this is done on purpose to limit the amount of public comments and shows you don't care about any of us or our time. Please reconsider this policy and don't do it again. I've been speaking at these New Jersey Transit public meetings for over 2 years. At the last 3 meetings, I and others asked the board to respond in writing to our concerns about your RFP. None of us received answers to our questions. You have provided no advanced background information for important public meetings, no transparency, and no meaningful response to our comments. You have failed to take your public comment responsibilities seriously. 2 more years have gone by, and it is impossible to ignore the climate crisis. Look around you. Hottest days on record in all of history. Look at the heat waves in Europe now with temperatures around 105 degrees. People and wildlife and plants can't survive these temperatures for long. New York City subways flooding and people dying in basement apartments, barely containable wildfires across the entire globe and even in Siberia, historically one of the coldest places on Earth. Stronger and scarier storms, droughts, and now a war in Ukraine funded by fossil fuel money. Climate scientists tell us we have less than 8 years to drastically cut our emissions to keep our planet habitable. What's it going to take for you to act with the urgency the situation requires? For the wildfires to be on your own actual doorstep? We are at a crossroads. The decisions you make now can help secure a livable future or help lock us into an uninhabitable hot planet. We cannot achieve real resiliency by building new fossil fuel infrastructure. The emissions from a new fossil fuel plant that you want to build will further exacerbate the climate crisis and cause even more extreme weather events. And it would increase the pollution burden on environmental justice communities who already suffer the deadly consequences of decades of environmental racism. Your, quote, sustainability plan is so vague that the only item to your 10-year strategic plan goals is, quote, promote a more sustainable future for our planet. That looks like an 8th grade PowerPoint and is pure greenwashing. There are no deliverables in there, just corporate buzzwords. In fact, the head of your sustainability plan comes from Hess Oil Company, which is a direct conflict of interest. I'm calling on you to start taking proactive action, not just rubber stamping the same old fossil fuel relics. We are running out of time and need Governor Murphy and his representative and you to be leaders and say no to any more fossil fuel projects and commit to a 100% clean and renewable microgrid to keep our planet habitable. This is a huge opportunity for Governor Murphy and his representative and New Jersey Transit to take the lead and set an example for the world. We ask you and Governor Murphy to please be the leaders of the world now and work toward creating a clean and sustainable future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Tim Sevener. Tim, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hello, yes. This is Tim Sevener from the Transit Village of Mount Tabor and a board member of the New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers. And I would like to salute New Jersey Transit for following rail advocates' recommendations for years to make higher platforms on many of the stations, on some key stations in Brunswick and et cetera. Bloomfield is now in the list. However, there's one thing that I see missing in all of these stations, refurbishments. Where is the solar power? Where is the solar canopies, which could be used to power a decentralized, distributed, renewable transit grid? It really doesn't make any sense to concentrate all your use on natural gas. As we've seen, natural gas prices are rising, diesel prices are rising. The world is running out of fossil fuels besides the fact that they're destroying the planet. So it really doesn't make sense to rely on natural gas instead of electric. I also see in your capital plan, you mentioned the Rosedale Cut as you approach Newark, which I suggested before could be used for a solar tunnel like they have in Hilversum, in Belgium to France, again, to power the New Jersey Transit grid. On top of that, the other thing I would like to mention is the urgent need, which I see no plans for electrifying our rail. There's plans for Bayhead to continue
1 minute remaining
as diesel. That doesn't make sense. Here's some things from what other best practices are doing. Caltrain's first electric train set test clearance along corridor, July 19, 2022. The UK government is more than trebling its investment into the Transpennine route upgrade. A further 959 GPP funding has been released. This will be spent on electrification of the railway between Staley Bridge and Manchester. In Boston, in our own country, Massachusetts, MBTA puts $50 million into electrification. MBTA added $50 million in funding for hybrid electrification. There needs to be a plan to electrify from all of our rail lines. And one of the most critical ones where it would be very useful is Atlantic City Rail Line, which could be powered by offshore wind, but also from Montclair State to Denville, from Long Branch to Bayhead, and from Dover to Hackettstown. Those are a few. And these are not long electric.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Rachel Davis. Rachel, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rachel, your line is live and we can hear you. Please proceed.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you. Good evening. This is Rachel Dawn Davis, Public Policy and Justice Organizer. I also wish to direct my comments to the Governor Murphy. I reiterate, as I've shared before, you should direct New Jersey Transit to amend the transit grid RFP to focus on solely creative renewable energy, demand response, and energy conservation solutions. Reverend Dr. Barber, co-leading the Modern Day Poor People's Campaign, shares that when investments are made according to morality, informed by young people whose livable future hangs in the balance, this can manifest positivity, active hope, and pride. Young people bearing witness to and partaking in largely one-way exchanges with government officials, they know there will be no climate emergency declaration, no moratorium on new fossil fuel projects, like the 7 being contested throughout the state, and no initiative to remove risky fossil fuel investments out of state pensions in so-called New Jersey in the year 2022. Young people are now convinced that government officials care whether they live or die by heat, flood, sickly air, etc. Question: why was there a shift on the New Jersey Transit Grid project? New Jersey Transit backtracking from renewable energy commitments on that project remains confusing. And the young person who spoke highlighted the great examples, opportunities for improvement, as they pay close attention to dire heat waves in India and Europe. We must cut contamination off at the source. Fossil fuel is dangerous at best, and a moratorium on new projects is in order. Governor Murphy, you understand the financial risk fossil fuel poses, given your financial background and your political background. International reach should equal creative solutions. How does the Department of Environmental Protection plan to achieve the 50% reduction by 2030, that target, especially given the DEP budget decreased by almost, as was mentioned earlier, almost 40%? Even as the environmental justice law comes to more life, what does environmental justice mean to you, Governor Murphy? It doesn't seem like anybody over there is really as concerned as people experiencing all of these very real daily health hazards that are cumulative and intergenerational. Renewable energy must be the priority now, and I echo Tim Sevener's comments earlier. Renewable energy must be the priority now. It would be a much better story for New Jersey to wholeheartedly be a true leader, an actual leader in transit and grid futurization, wouldn't it?
15 seconds.
If not, please answer, why not? If not, why not? Thank you.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Samantha DeFalco. Samantha, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hi, good evening. My name is Samantha DeFalco, and I am an organizer with the group Food and Water Watch, speaking today on behalf of our members and supporters across New Jersey. We, like many of the speakers who have already spoken tonight, remain extremely concerned about the RFP for the New Jersey Transit Grid project. We know that this RFP leaves the door wide open for a gas plant, as we've been raising these concerns at every board meeting and by email and by letters we've sent to the board since February, and have not received any substantial communications in response.
all this time, half a year has gone by, and half of the, the amount of time that developers have to respond to this RFP has elapsed. And meanwhile, no addendum has been added that ensures that a gas plant won't be central to this project. Governor Murphy, I'd like to speak to Governor Murphy's representative on the board, and we're extremely concerned that this project is completely out of alignment with the governor's promises to environmental justice and the climate. And we know this needs to be addressed if the governor wants to sincerely reach the goals that he's made, both to protect public health in our most overburdened communities, like the ones that surround Kearney, and to make good on his promises to deal with the climate crisis. Just less than a month ago, he made a bold statement in response to Supreme Court decision on West Virginia versus the EPA. And he said, in the wake of another tragic ruling, we will continue to do everything in our power to combat the climate crisis and preserve New Jersey's environmental and public health. And we will continue charging towards our ambitious goal of creating a 100% clean energy economy by 2050. We cannot achieve those goals if we allow new fossil fuel development in our state, and especially if we allow agencies like New Jersey Transit and like the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission to proceed with projects designed to build resiliency in the face of worsening climate crisis with fossil fuels and other toxic climate-destroying gases. We need the governor to intervene here and direct New Jersey Transit to amend their RFP so that this project can be done in the right way and use our taxpayer dollars to build the clean energy future that the Governor Murphy has promised and that New Jersey residents, especially those in overburdened communities, deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Liz Nadoy. Liz, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hi, my name is Liz Nadoy. I'm a member of Don't Gas the Meadowlands and a resident of Hoboken. I'm here to express my extreme disappointment and, quite frankly, outrage with Governor Murphy and the Board of New Jersey Transit for continuing to move forward on your proposal for a natural gas power plant in Kearney. This is a complete and utter betrayal to the residents of Essex and Hudson counties. These are counties in an area horrifically nicknamed the Cancer Corridor of New Jersey, with communities that are already overburdened by the negative effects of dirty air pollution. This power plant will be, for many in these environmental justice communities, a literal death sentence. New Jersey Transit has not fully researched all viable hybrid microgrid alternative energy options. You have not investigated all possible properties available for solar siting. You have not researched or investigated fully the use of battery storage systems or wind power, and you have not discussed with PSC&G whether your grid hardening has strengthened the overall system in ways that will protect transit operations. FEMA actually states, and I quote, "Natural gas supplies can be interrupted during high wind, flood, or earthquake events. Also, natural gas services are often intentionally shut down prior to a storm event to reduce the risk of fires and explosions. Because of this, natural gas should not be used as a fuel for providing emergency power to critical facilities. Why, New Transit, would you opt to build a natural gas power plant for your resiliency needs? We are in a climate emergency now. Millions are suffering from heat waves, droughts, floods, food shortages, and displacement caused by man-made climate change all over the world. We therefore call on the members of the Board of New Jersey Transit to tear up this latest terrible betrayal RFP, stop hiding behind greenwashed excuses, and take a strong leadership role. Go back to the drawing board and find the clean energy solution. It's time to save lives. We have run out of time to equivocate. Finally, and most importantly, we say, Governor Murphy, stop this transit power plant project and ban all new fossil fuel projects in New Jersey now. Be the environmental leader we elected you to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are no further participants in the public comment queue at this time.
Thank you, public speakers. Are there any board member comments? Board Member Adams?
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank all the speakers for taking the time out of their day to come out and express their concerns to the New Jersey Transit Board. And again, we do take all of your comments, questions seriously. But specifically, Megan, I didn't get the speaker's name who was the first speaker and the waiting room or station that he was referring to. So can I just ask the team, Kevin, can you just take a look at his concerns? It appeared to be no AC, no fans, benches and rails. And since we're in the summer season, I'd like to see if our team can just take a look at that and see if we can do anything for that passenger. And the other thing is to Charles Mccann. I believe that was the Purdue University engineering student. If you haven't already done so, please apply to New Jersey Transit because we're always looking for great engineering talent, and you seem like a bright, ambitious, and intelligent young man. Thank you. Those are my only comments.
Maybe just briefly for Board Member, Market Street, the gentleman was referring to Penn Station Newark here, the Market Street entrance where the bus comes. And the air conditioning is the general, which is actually coming up in October board meeting for the new chiller tower. So it's part of the Penn renovation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board member comments?
Megan, may I say something?
Sure, Board Member Gordon.
Yes, thank you. Want to thank all the speakers today, as always, for sharing your views. I would like to make some general comments in response to my friends concerned about the fossil fuel-fired microgrids. I'm joining this meeting from San Diego, where I'm attending a meeting of the National Utility Commissioners. And I can tell you that one of the things that I've gotten out of this meeting is a clear sense that the rest of the country views New Jersey under Governor Murphy as a leader in renewable energy, in solar, in fossil fuel, energy efficiency, so many things. We're leading the way. And I share your hopes that we could have a rely entirely on renewable energy for our transit grid. But the fact is that you don't have the resiliency that you need today with a system that's powered by either solar or wind. When the wind stops blowing or when the sun goes down, the electrons stop flowing. So what you need for a system like that is battery storage technology. And unfortunately, that technology does not exist today. What we need to do is build a system that is designed in a way that can accommodate the new technologies as they emerge. But if we're going to have a resilient transit grid, we can't do it without some fossil fuel fired support, and at least in a supportive role. And that unfortunately are the facts. And if you can find a system, another transit system that is powered entirely by renewable energy, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Board Member Doshi, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I want to thank all the speakers who came out today. And thank you as well to the engineering student. I think he left for his comments. To all the environmental advocates, I wanted to say that we are environmental advocates too. On the board, staff, and administration, we ask all the time at meetings, and they've already thought about how we can make things more green at every project we do. And as a woman and a person of color, I'm very cognizant, and living in Camden County, of the effects of the environment and impacts on minority communities. So we do take that into account. And on that note, I want to say we're working with Tri-County Sustainability down in South Jersey. We're going to be showcasing our electric buses. They're going to have Drive Electric Week. So we are working with a lot of the groups, and we're trying to do everything we can. But as board member Gordon said, it's very important to have safety and reliability for our customers. So that comes first. And we are working toward it. That's all I had.
Thank you. Are there any other board member comments?
Yes, Megan, I'd like to just clarify one procedural process at NJ Transit. We have moved executive session entirely to the end of the board meeting, which means that we come in, we take public comment, and at the end of the meeting, we go into executive session, after which we take no more public action. Tonight, and a couple of other months prior, we have had to have a short executive session. The board members arrive early at New Jersey Transit to do that at 5:30, so as to maintain the 6 p.m. start time. We do that on purpose. So there was one caller who indicated that it was rude of us to go into executive session before we took public comment. The meeting is posted to start at 5:30, clearly noting that there will be an executive session from 5:30 to 6, so that you do not have to get on the phone before 6 p.m. to wait. The one thing this board does not want to be is discourteous to those who are waiting to give public comment. I could flip a coin. Those who want to wait on the phone want to go first. Those who are here in public want to go first. That part we're not going to make everybody happy on, but we are doing our very best to make sure that we are respectful of your time when you come here to make public comment. The only other thing I would add to Commissioner Gordon's statement is that if you can show us a system of the magnitude of New Jersey Transit's, please don't show us a system that is tiny and doesn't measure up to what it is we're asked to deliver on a daily basis. I know there are systems out there. Mr. Sevner reminds us all the time about systems that are electrified. We will be very happy to get to that day, but for the moment, we need to look at systems that manage the volume of traffic that we have on the rails, as well as the multiple lines that we serve. So that would be the only thing I would add to a very eloquent presentation by Board Member Gordon. With that, I conclude my remarks.
Thank you. Are there any other board member comments? Okay, we can move on to the advisory committee report.
Timothy O'Reilly, please present the advisory committee report.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Yes, I'm from the North Jersey PAC, and in our recent meetings, we had a lot of discussion information given to us by different board members, transit members, and we really are looking forward to the opportunities that come from our marketing and ticket sales, et cetera, through the cell phone usage. If anybody goes into a restaurant or to even a family dinner table, there's at least a good portion of the people there staring at their cell phone. And so the fact that our marketing people and looking to make the website and the cell phone usage more friendly is just really fabulous, because we will be in the forefront of that, which a lot of other communities and areas around the country do not have. I'd also like to say that I also participated in some of the Meadowlands concerts, and I think that the smooth operations that happened were just a good showing to some of the things that were addressed from the past, and that our team is really looking to make things happen better for the public. I see the grants for public accessibility, and not only does that help people who have needs for accessibility, but it also helps our seniors and our older people who need to be able to use our facilities and get on and off with much more ease. And finally, I'd like to just comment on the Hoboken improvements that will make that area extremely inviting. It'll make it safer, and it will make opportunities for New Jersey Transit to provide more transportation to people who want to go to Hoboken and Jersey City and take advantage of all the opportunities and things that are offered there. So we look forward to that also. And that will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. At this time, I would call on Philip Harrison to present the Senior Citizen and Disabled Resident Transportation Advisory Committee report.
Good evening, members of the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors, New Jersey Transit staff, and public assembled here this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to address the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit on behalf of the Scattertap Citizens Advisory Committee. As legislatively mandated advocates for the seniors, citizens, and disabled residents of New Jersey in regards to their public transportation needs, we were pleased to learn, as reflected at the Accessibility Forum held last month, that all departments of New Jersey Transit are committed to the improving accessibility for people with disabilities in the state in regards to their public transportation needs. It provided a forum for the public to address these issues relevant to the transportation issues faced by people with disabilities. We note that several members of our committee participated and brought to the attention of New Jersey Transit personnel certain difficulties encountered by them which would affect people with disabilities while using New Jersey Transit services. Our committee is addressing several such matters. We welcome public comment at our committee meetings, which often bring to light certain problems for seniors and people with disabilities heretofore not recognized. We then will discuss such matters and bring to New Jersey Transit staff, often with our suggestions for improvement. We will be looking into problems encountered by the hearing impaired, which are being brought to light by one of our new members. Some of our committee services over the past 6 months are as follows. Several committee members participated in the review of 5310 applications by the Scattertap County Paratransit Systems and other community-based transportation agencies for receipt of federal funding for vehicles and operating costs, providing their input on behalf of our constituents. Our committee also submitted to New Jersey Transit personnel our suggestions in regard to the proposed regulations dealing with reduced fares for seniors and people with disabilities, approving of many provisions while suggesting several changes. Excuse me, could we stop that phone? Our committee, with the cooperation of Namika Parker, Acting General Manager of the Access Link, is looking into the development of the newly formed regional councils, which will ultimately be issuing best practices
for the paratransit operations. Our committee will be looking into providing our input into the promulgation of the best practices, which will ultimately affect our constituents. We are also looking into legislation dealing with bus riders' rights, which would pertain to seniors and disabled riders of New Jersey Transit scheduled bus routes. Much of the work of the Citizens Advisory Committee is done with subcommittees, which are temporarily organized in order to discuss certain specific issues pertaining to the subject matter of the full committee. The subcommittee's recommendations will then be reviewed for approval by the full committee in session. I note that the dialysis subcommittee is looking with New Jersey Transit into the possibility of calling a meeting of all interested parties in Ocean County with an end to attempt to develop a volunteer system to assist the most vulnerable of the dialysis patients in that county to find transportation to their dialysis centers. The Education Subcommittee has the responsibility to keep the full committee apprised of developments in the field of senior and people with disabilities transportation issues within the state. Our membership subcommittee currently is looking to fill the final vacancy on the Citizens Advisory Committee. Althea Branch of Access Link is keeping the committee abreast of Access Link efforts to expand its services to persons with disabilities who heretofore have been unable to use its system by the introduction of feeder services to Access Link by other county transportation providers. The committee will continue over the remainder of 2022 to review the reports of several scattertap county systems to ascertain in detail about their programs and to provide suggestions on behalf of the riders where appropriate. On behalf of the entire Citizens Advisory Committee, I want to thank the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit and New Jersey Transit staff for their commitment to the continuation and further development of transportation services for seniors and persons with disabilities in New Jersey. We would also like to thank the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit for your support of the local program's annual item for 2023 funding that you will be voting on this evening. We will be grateful to the board for approving this critically important grant. This grant fuels important services which will enhance the lives of people with disabilities and seniors, and also enhance the lives of citizens, of all the citizens of the state of New Jersey. Again, I want to thank the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit for this opportunity to present the report on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Council. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrison. At this time, I'll call on Board Member Giblin to present the Operations and Customer Service Committee report.
The Operations and Customer Service Committee received an update on trends, analysis, and actions for rail, bus, light rail, and Access Link. The committee also received an update on the cost of service. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Giblin. I'll now call on Board Member Caniff to present the Administration Committee report.
The Administration Committee received a financial update. This included a summary of operating results compared to previous year's comparable period and fiscal year 22 budget, 12-month fare box revenue compared to pre-COVID, major balance sheet items, and federal COVID-19 relief grant drawdown summary. Additional information was provided as part of the agenda materials, including the cost of service, key performance indicators, 12-month fare box recovery, history of vacancies, attrition and hires, ridership and revenue,
and a monthly budget-to-actual comparison for July 2021 to May 2022. The committee also received updates from Human Resources and Equal Employment Opportunity and Affirmative Action. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Board Member Caniff. I will now call on Vice Chair Fulton to present the Capital Planning, Policy, and Privatization Committee report.
Thank you, Chair. I would ask all to please bear with me. This is quite a mouthful here. Hopefully I won't stumble too much. But I think it's also indicative of all the great work that New Jersey Transit is doing, so I'm delighted to participate in this process. New Jersey Transit fiscal year 2022 capital plan update adoption and fiscal year 2023 authorization to secure capital funding. New Jersey Transit fiscal year 2023 grant programs, local transportation for senior citizens, persons with disabilities, rural and low-income residents, and the Northern Branch Rail Corridor Environmental Impact Statement, Consultant Contract Agreement, and New Jersey Transit Resilience Program, Final Design Engineering, and other technical services associated with Newark Penn Station Backup Generation Project, Professional Services Contract Award, and Design Engineering Bid Phase Services and Construction Assistance Services for the Maplewood Bus Operator Facility and Parking Project, Professional Services Contract Award, and Hudson Bergen Light Rail General Design Consultant Contract Amendment for additional services, and Union City Bus Garage Demolition Project Construction Services Contract Award, and Consulting Services for Undergrade Bridge Inspection, Fixed Bridges, and Non-Revenue Vehicle Electrical Charging Stations, and NAMBY Bus Life Midlife Rehabilitation Overall Costs, and finally, New Jersey Transit Real Estate Report Fiscal Year 2022. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fulton. That was a mouthful. At this time, I will call on Board Member Adams to present the Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Safety Committee was provided an update by the Office of System Safety on key safety performance metrics for rail, light rail, bus, access link, and capital construction projects. The Safety Committee was also made aware that the Office of System Safety participated in June Safety Month by providing safety awareness materials on various topics to our customers at main terminals throughout the month, including New York, Newark, Hoboken, Secaucus, and a Port Authority bus terminal. Chief Trusillo updated the committee on the rollout of the TSA mandated security training for all safety-sensitive employees. The chief also briefed the committee on the full-scale exercise that was held on June 4th in Bordentown. The drill involved the river line and tested new water rescue equipment and tactics. Chief Trusillo spoke about the de-escalation training that has been ongoing for bus operators and rail crew personnel. Chief Trusillo made the committee aware that two new explosive detection canines graduated from the State Police School recently and are now deployed on the transit system. The chief also briefed on the efforts of the outreach unit over the past month, in addition to the number of Narcan deployment by transit officers. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Board Member Adams. I'll now ask President and CEO Corbett to present the action items.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like now to introduce Bill Vaquera, Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer, to present Board Item 2207-46. Bill.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval Item 2207-46, Fiscal Year 2023 Operating Budget. Authorization is requested to adopt the Fiscal Year 2023 operating budget in the amount of $2.755 billion as detailed in item and on Exhibits A, B, and C. We ask for approval of Item 2207-46.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Fulton.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on the item? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
No.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff? Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, now I'd like to introduce Rich Schaefer, Acting Senior Vice President for Capital Programs, to present Board Item 2207-47 regarding the capital program. Rich?
We are presenting for your approval, item 220747, New Jersey Transit 2022 Capital Plan Update Adoption and Fiscal Year 2023 Authorization to Secure Capital Funding. Authorization is requested to adopt the 2022 Capital Plan Update, which is an update to a 5-year capital plan and unconstrained vision of projects to demonstrate opportunities for safety, service, reliability, resiliency, sustainability, and other improvements critical to New Jersey Transit. Authorization is also requested to take whatever actions are necessary to seek and secure the funds envisioned by this program of projects. Authorization is also requested to transfer funding sources and amounts among program projects as circumstances require, in compliance with the terms and conditions of the grants and other funding sources. Authorization is also requested to make application, execute contracts or agreements, and take whatever actions are necessary to seek and secure funds consistent with the basic intent of this program, which may become available subsequent to its adoption.
May I have a motion to approve item 2207-47?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Giblin.
Is there any discussion on this motion?
Chair, this is Cedric, if I may.
Of course.
Just one quick comment. I think that at this moment in time, it's important to reflect upon the fact that when New Jersey Transit rolled out its unconstrained capital plan, they created a pathway that would allow for an opportunity to put dollars in place as soon as money came available for important projects. We've been fortunate this particular period in time, and such money has advanced, and hence we had a plan ready to utilize to underpin the decision-making process as to how the incremental dollars would be advanced. And so I think my only comment here is a commentary on the importance of the planning process. I again applaud New Jersey Transit staff for having the courage to advance an unconstrained plan. And with the availability of dollars, we were able to expeditiously move forward with applying them to such a plan. And then, hopefully future forward as the planning process continues, we will also be well positioned to take advantage of dollars that become available. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Yes, James?
Cedric just stole my thunder, so I'm going to skip that to say that it was an excellent and intelligent move on New Jersey Transit's part to have an unconstrained capital program. It was just, I can say it was just genius, but so let me get to my point. Congratulations on being promoted to Senior Vice President. Kevin couldn't have made a more accurate, more timely choice. Good luck in your position, and just let us know how the board can help you deliver this capital program. That's one of my comments.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. Any other comments? I just want to echo what Cedric said. I think when we set forth with an unconstrained plan, nobody could have anticipated what happened this budget season. And so New Jersey Transit has a very full plate, but all extraordinarily important projects. It's wonderful to have received so much additional funding to improve our system. And I know, Rich, under your leadership and Kevin's, you are ready to execute that plan, because getting the money is one thing, but the mission is always on execution. So we're looking forward to it, and as Board Member Adams say, we're all here to support that, to make the agency successful. So good luck with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hearing no other discussion, roll call.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scitetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Again, thanks so much. It's extremely exciting and encouraging for all of us at Transit here. I'd like now Rich to continue to present the next item, 2207-48. Rich?
Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-48, NJ Transit Fiscal Year 2023 Grant Programs, Local Transportation for Senior Citizens, Persons with Disabilities, Rural and Low-Income Residents. Authorization is requested to execute, extend, or modify all agreements and contracts and to take all other steps necessary to implement the fiscal year 2023 grants program as set forth in the board item. We ask for your approval of item 2207-48.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Doshi.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, board members. Get used to saying Rich there for a little while longer. Rich now has the following up items, 2207-49, regarding the Hudsonburg and Light Rail extension. Rich?
Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-49, Northern Branch Rail Corridor Environmental Impact Statement, Consultant Contract Amendment. Authorization is requested to amend the contract with Jacobs Engineering Incorporated of Morristown, New Jersey, for additional work to provide professional services to complete the final environmental impact statement and provide support services for the Northern Branch Rail Service Project until the receipt of the record of decision at a cost not to exceed $2,500,000 for a total contract authorization of $15,611,383.60, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-49.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion,
Caniff.
Fulton.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Is there any discussion on this item?
Chair, I just have a couple of comments. I was very challenged by this item, and I understand the need and the importance of it, and I'm in full agreement with the staff's moving it forward, but it was a challenge to me because this contract was originally authorized in 1995, and it's not going to be complete until 2025, which is 30 years from the original time that it was approved by the board. The original amount was about $4 million, and we've issued over $12 million in change orders. I guess I'm challenged by the fact that a contract has a scope of work, has a cost amount, and it has an end date. And I just don't think that 30 years is an appropriate end date for any type of agreement. So I don't think I can vote in favor for this, although I'm not saying anything against the team, anything against the staff for bringing it to us, but I just believe that a contract has to end before 30 years. And I do not think the original board members, and I'm speaking for them, anticipated that this 1995 contract would still be going on in 2025. Those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. Any other comments? Hearing none. Megan, go ahead and take roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
No.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Rich. I'll ask you now to present board item 2207-50.
Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-50, NJ Transit Resilience Program, final design, engineering, and other technical services associated with Newark Penn Station Backup Generation Project, Professional Services Contract Award. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with WSP USA of Newark, New Jersey for the preliminary and final design, engineering, and other technical services associated with the Newark Penn Station Distributed Generation Project, and engage WSP USA Incorporated to perform Phase 1 services that include project management, preliminary and final design services, and bid phase services in the amount not to exceed $1,636,813.17, plus 5% for contingencies, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-50.
May I have a motion to approve?
Giblin, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on this item?
Chair, I just have a few questions. The way I understand this project, and I know the need for it, and I believe that we did a bunch of these in the fall of last year, is that this emergency generator, I guess, is in the floodplain, and it needs to be moved out of the floodplain due to flooding and due to other concerns to make it operational. But I just want it to be known that this is a natural gas-powered plant, and the staff has made a commitment to be able to convert it to renewable as soon as possible. I just want it to be known, Rich, that I'm, not directing at you, but probably at Kevin, that can we do this as soon as possible? Because this is one of the issues that the environmental advocates had questioned us about, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to get this converted to something as close to renewable as possible. Those are my only comments, Megan. Thank you.
Any other comments by the board? Hearing none, Megan, please take a roll call.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried. We have a board member recusal on the next item. Board Member Adams is recused and will leave the meetings.
Great, thank you. Ask Rich now to continue with 2207-51 regarding professional service contract for facility at Maplewood. Rich?
Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-51, design, engineering, bid fade services, and construction assistance services for the Maplewood Bus Operator Facility and Parking Project, professional services contract award. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with Sistra Consulting, Incorporated of Bloomfield, New Jersey, for the design, engineering, bid fade services, and construction assistance services for the Maplewood Bus Operator Facility and Parking Project, and to engage Sistra Consulting, Incorporated for Phase 1 services, design, engineering, and bid phase services in the amount not to exceed $1,340,000, $891.24, plus 5% for contingencies subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-51.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried. We'll have Board Member Adams return to the meeting.
Great, thanks. Rich, would now ask you to go with, present item 2207-52, another companion item on the Hudson Bergen Light Rail project.
Sir. Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-52, Hudson Bergen Light Rail General Design Consultant Contract Amendment for additional services. Authorization is requested to amend a contract with WSP USA Incorporated of Newark, New Jersey, in the amount not to exceed $7 million to provide design for utility relocation, support for property acquisition, and grant and financing strategy development to support the Hudson Bergen Light Rail 440 extension and other support services as the owner's representative for the Hudson Bergen Light Rail operations and maintenance contract rebid effort, for a total contract authorization of $167,180,785, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-52.
Thank you, Rich. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Caniff.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I just have a few brief comments. Thank you. The original contract, I believe, for this was issued in 1993. And there have been over 20 amendments on this contract, and I believe the change order amounts are over $100 million. Again, similar to the other agreement, I believe that every contract has a set scope, has a set amount, and also has an end date. And to be still talking about a contract almost 30 years later, I think we could have bid this out. I think we could have gone another avenue or done something else in order not to have to extend this contract with over 20 amendments. And like I said before, I don't think the original board had anticipated the 20 amendments, so I'm not in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. Are there any other comments by any other board members?
Yes, this is Cedric. One of the things that I think I would say is that in both instances, I was in a similar place as Board Member Adams, no doubt. I think most of us who've been in the transportation business for the last 30 plus years or so know these two projects well. And they have been in discussion for literally tens of years, 10, 20, 30 years. And so it's hard to reconcile the continuation of contracts for such a long duration of time on its face. But the commentary that I would add here is that I recognize the complexity of the issues associated with both of these projects. And I think the point should be made, just so folks aren't of the mind that these kinds of issues don't come up in discussion amongst board members. There was certainly rigorous discussion and questioning regarding the necessity of moving forward with contracts that, as James said, one of which began in 1995. That was certainly my instantaneous reaction. But having been around long enough to have heard these conversations from the positions of multiple agencies, I can tell you that the involvement of individuals, often individuals and organizations that were there at the beginning are critical to being able to execute contracts consistent with some hope and expectation of being able to deliver the project within some reasonable time frame, within a budget that we can live with. The alternative in many instances is, in some ways, is to not necessarily start anew, but you would be asking others to pick up from where others' works were. And the best outcome would be that the individuals who actually worked for one particular firm would go to the new firm who acquired the contract so as not to lose continuity. So at the end of the day, where I settled was in terms of advancing these hugely important initiatives. And I think the point being made here is that there was certainly rigorous discussion amongst the board as it relates to these very, very unusual procurements. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fulton. Are there any other comments on this item? Since we've had discussion, it's time to take a roll call vote. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
No.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Kena?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you. Now I'd like Rich to present 2207-53 regarding the demolition of Union City Bus Garage.
Yes, sir. Board, we are presenting for approval item 2207-53, Union City Bus Garage Demolition Project, Construction Services Contract Award. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with DMR Construction Services Incorporated to provide construction services for the demolition of the Union City Bus Garage in Union City, New Jersey, in the amount of $6,015,763.40, plus 25% for contingencies, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-53.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Doshi.
Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair, I do have a request. This item troubled me a lot because of the 25% contingency, but having done demolition before, I perfectly understand the reason why the team did put a 25% contingency in a demolition contract, because there's more unknowns than knowns in a demolition contract. But what could I ask is, could they come back to the board maybe every month or maybe every 2 months and just give us a status of where they are? I mean, I don't think they're going to spend 25, which I really hope you don't, but that would make me feel a little bit more comfortable, not for approval, but just maybe for information. Those are my only comments and my requests. Thank you.
I would ask Megan to take note of the request. It's not unreasonable, and I'm certain that Rich's staff can maintain contact with you to let you know and the board know how the project is going. This has been a long time in coming to the board, and the staff has worked very hard with Union City to get us where we are today. And so I agree 25% is more than our normal contingency, but I also know that, as you said, there are significant unknowns that will come with this project. So certainly I'm in favor of the item, but we will certainly take into account your concerns and report out. The staff will report out. Any other comments? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Nara? I'm sorry, Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried. Board Member Adams is recused from the next item, and he will leave the meeting.
Thanks. We'll give Rich a break for a few minutes, and I would now like to introduce Jim Cicaglia, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Rail Operations, to present Board Item 2207-54 regarding bridge inspections.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval Item 2207-54, Consulting Services for Undergrade Bridge Inspections, Fixed Bridges. Authorization is requested to award separate contracts to KS Engineers of Newark, New Jersey, Michael Baker of Hamilton, New Jersey, HNTB of Parsippany, New Jersey, HDR of Newark, New Jersey, H&H of Trenton, New Jersey, and Trans Systems of Morristown, New Jersey, to perform in-depth structural inspections, evaluations, and low ratings of 298 undergrade fixed bridges at costs not to exceed $1,077,343.43, $1,131,256.07, $967,994.55, $1,160,261.07, $1,023,077.40, and $1,257.22 respectively, for a total cost of $6,360,189.74, plus 5% for contingency, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-54.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Fulton.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on the item? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote. Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried. We will have Board Member Adams return to the meeting.
Great. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Justin Davis, Senior Vice President, Regulatory and Government Affairs and Chief of Staff, to present Board Item 2207-55 regarding electrical vehicle charging stations. Justin?
Thank you, CEO. Members of the board and chair. We're presenting the approval of item 2207-55, non-revenue vehicle electric charging stations. Authorization is requested to approve the use of state contracts, cooperative, or IFBs for the purchase of 126 charging stations plus infrastructure for the New Jersey Transit Organizational Services in the amount not to exceed $1.787283 million plus 5% for contingencies, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item number 2207-55.
May I have a motion to approve?
Giblin, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second, Doshi.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce John McCarthy, Deputy General Manager. 7-56 concerning the nabbies. John?
Good evening. We're presenting for approval item number 2207-56, Nabby Bus Midlife Rehabilitation Overall Cost. Authorization is requested to enter into sole source and competitively bid contracts with original equipment manufacturers and other sources of supply for procurement of various bus components and materials required to complete the midlife rehabilitation campaign on 200 Nabby transit buses model years 2012 and 2013. Additional, all labor costs incurred by New Jersey Transit bus operations internal workforces are factored in at a cost not to exceed $26,049,526 plus 5% contingency for a total project cost of $27,352,002.30, subject to availability of funds. We ask for your approval on item number 2207-56.
Thank you, John. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on the item? Hearing none, Megan, would you please take roll?
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, John. Now ask Bill Vaccaro to come back up to present 2207-57 regarding Human Resources Task Order.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-57, Human Resources Task Order Program. Authorization is requested to enter into contracts with the firms shown in Exhibit A. Total value of the 2022 Human Resources Task Order Consultant Contracts Program will be $11 million. Each contract will extend for 5 years. The maximum task and contract limits are shown in Exhibit B. We ask for your approval of item 2207-57.
May I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved, Caniff.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair, I just really have to compliment staff on this procurement. I've been talking about this, I think, for months, that one of my biggest concerns with delivery of our capital program and keeping our operations up to par has been to being the recruitment and retention of high-quality staff. And I think this purchase order hits the nail right on the head with talking about executive and high-visibility positions, hard-to-fill positions, and in positions where we're always looking for pipelines for diverse candidates. So I have to compliment Kevin and I have to compliment this team on putting this procurement out there. I think this is great, and this is going to be a huge addition to the New Jersey Transit program. So thank you all for this hard work.
Thank you, Board Member. Are there any other comments on this item? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you. I think Bill's trying to give Rich a run for the money here, but Now ask Bill to carry on with 2207-58 regarding real estate.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-58, New Jersey Transit Real Estate Report, fiscal year 2022. Authorization is requested to approve the report annexed as Exhibit A and transmit the report to the Governor, the Commissioner of Transportation, President of the Senate, Speaker of the General Assembly, and the Assembly Transportation and Independent Authorities Committee, and the Senate Transportation Committee. We ask for your approval of item 2207-58.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams,
Yes.
Board Member Doshi,
Yes.
Board Member Gordon,
Yes.
Board Member Kena,
Yes.
Board Member Giblin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton,
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Now ask Bill to present item 2207-59 regarding license agreement. Bill?
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-59, Grade Crossing License Agreement, Standard Street Alpha Property LLC. Authorization is requested to enter into a grade crossing license agreement with the Standard Street Alpha Property LLC of Newark, New Jersey, for the use of approximately 12,500 square feet of New Jersey Transit's Raritan Valley inactive railroad right-of-way property in the borough of Alpha, Warren County, New Jersey, on terms as discussed in executive session. We ask for approval of item 2207-59.
May I have a motion to approve?
Giblin, so moved.
May I have a second?
Adams, second.
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams,
Yes.
Board Member Doshi,
Yes.
Board Member Gordon,
Yes.
Board Member Kena,
Yes.
Board Member Giblin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton,
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you. Now ask Bill to present 2207-60 regarding warehouse lease.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-60, lease of warehouse space for use by New Jersey Transit operating departments. Authorization is requested to enter into a 7-year lease with a lessee organizational management to rent approximately 100,216 square feet of warehouse space in their building number 2 at 590 Belleville Turnpike in Kearney, New Jersey, to be occupied by New Jersey Transit's procurement, rail operations, and organizational services department for a total cost not to exceed the amount discussed in executive session, including rent, estimated expenses, fit-out costs, and other incidental expenses, plus 5% for contingencies, subject to availability of funds. We ask for approval of item 2207-60.
May I have a motion to approve?
Gordon moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Giblin, second.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams,
Yes.
Board Member Doshi,
Yes.
Board Member Gordon,
Yes.
Board Member Kena,
Yes.
Board Member Giblin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton,
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you, Bill. Bad news for you, Bill. I'm afraid Rich is back up, and I think he's got more items today. He's stopping you out right here. Rich, would ask Rich to present 2207-61 regarding Raritan River Bridge.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-61, New Jersey Transit Resilience Program, Raritan River Bridge Replacement Project, General Construction Contract GC.01 Amendment. Authorization is requested to increase the value of a contract with George Harms Construction Company and execute a change order addressing certain open pending claims, notices of proposed changes, and contractor-initiated changes at a cost not to exceed an amount discussed in executive session, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2207-61.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Fulton.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now ask Brian Wilton to present item 22, our Senior Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, and General Counsel, to introduce Board Item 2207-62 regarding agreements related to the Hudson Tunnel project. Brian.
Thank you, President Corbett. At this time, we are presenting for approval item 2207-62, a resolution authorizing entering into a funding agreement for the purchase of real property interest for the Hudson Tunnel project between New Jersey Transit and the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, also known as Amtrak, and authorizing the purchase of various property interests for the Hudson Tunnel project. At this time, I'll ask Emery Ungrady, who is handling the project on behalf of New Jersey Transit, to describe the approval being requested. Emery?
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Madam Chair, members of the board, authorization is requested in accordance with NJSA 27:25-1 at SEC to execute and deliver the funding agreement. Authorization is also requested in accordance with NJSA 27:25-5J and NJSA 27:25-13 to do such acts and things as may be necessary or advisable to acquire all Hudson Tunnel project property acquisitions in New Jersey required for the Hudson Tunnel project, and, if necessary, the right to file complaints and condemnation and file and record a declaration of taking and agreements in lieu of condemnation in accordance with NJSA 20:30-1 et sec. Authorization is also requested pursuant to an agreement between New Jersey Transit and the New Jersey Department of Transportation to provide relocation assistance and payments to any affected property to be acquired, if any, in accordance with Federal Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act, 42 U.S.C.A. Section 4601 et sec, and Uniform Transportation Housing Replacement and Relocation Act, NJSA 27:7-72 et sec, in cooperation with New Jersey DOT. We ask for approval of item 2207-62.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Gordon moved.
May I have a second?
Giblin second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emery. Thanks, Brian. And the last item for action tonight is I'd like Chris Trusillo, Senior Vice President, Chief of Police and Office of Emergency Management, present Board Item 2207-63 regarding labor agreements.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2207-63, proposed labor agreement with the Police Benevolent Association, PBA Local Number 304. Authorization is requested to enter into contract with the Police Benevolent Association, PBA, for the term of July 1st, 2022 until June 30th, 2027, subject to the availability of funds, approve the economic terms and other proposed conditions contained in the collective bargaining agreement, and take all necessary steps to finalize and implement same. We ask your approval of item number 2207-63.
May I have a motion to approve?
Gordon moved.
Second, Doshi.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn to executive session, I want to let the public know we will return to adjourn the meeting only. No further business will be conducted. May I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract negotiations, the status of pending and anticipated litigation, and matters falling within the attorney-client privilege, including but not limited to the New Jersey Transit County Yard Project, 120 Jersey Avenue LLC, New Brunswick, Parcel 3 Settlement. May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Caniff.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I hereby reconvene the open session board meetings. Megan, please take roll call.
Board Member Adams?
Here.
Board Member Doshi? Here. Board Member Gordon?
Here.
Board Member Giblin?
Here.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Here.
Chair Gutierrez Scacchetti?
Here. Megan, we have a quorum, correct?
Yes.
Since there is no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Giblin.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, meeting's adjourned. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
You.